Hi, I'm Dex Gelfand, of note as a therapeutic spiritual counseling specialist. That is my brand. That is what I call it, therapeutic spiritual counseling. And this particular talk is geared more towards Scientologists. I have some Scientology background. I'm not a practitioner of Scientology. There was a time when I was. There were things to learn. There are some things that people can really find very workable in Scientology. Overall, I don't endorse getting involved with that organization or going through that system, but which is not to say, again, that there aren't some benefits. Anyway, uh, one of my recent participants, who, as many of them do, have their own Scientology backgrounds. That's a substantial part of my following, though not all of it. Those who are open to looking beyond the constrictions of that particular discipline, for lack of a better term. And he was very, very gratefully explaining to me something that came as a bit of a surprise. He said, I don't know why all these Scientologists say there's no continuity in what you're doing. And that came as a surprise to me, as I just said. I had never heard that before. Scientologists like to pride themselves on the idea that through their Scientology, they can easily communicate with anyone about anything, and yet no Scientologist, and I know many, none of them had broached that subject with me. Hey guys, I'm very accessible. I'm very easy to talk to. So if any of you would like to have a private discussion with me, I'd love that. Anyway, I thought about that for a minute. I was taken aback at the idea expressed that there's no continuity to what I do with people, because my approach is perfect continuity. It follows exactly where your mind takes you. It doesn't abruptly change subjects on you. We take up what's on your mind. We take up what's disturbing you. We take up what is getting in the way of your passions that you'd like to be able to do better. When we start a session and I say, what's on your mind, you tell me. And if there's nothing new that has emerged, then we do follow the plan from the previous session. If something else has come to the forefront to be followed, we will follow it. That is a perfect continuity for you, the participant. What I realized very soon after that is what Scientologists mean is that, like other subjects, Scientology confers a sense of accomplishment on its followers by having a series of levels. So a person can have a sense of progressing from level 1 to level 2, grade 3 to grade 4, and so forth. And that's the continuity they're talking about. Now, Scientologists, here's where you're not understanding. Coming up with a generic, what Scientology calls a gradation chart, a generic plan for everybody to be processed with the same techniques in the same specific order, it is an imposed continuity. It's not a natural continuity. I know that those who study Scientology are taught that the idea of it is that this does follow the steps of advancement to be able to achieve higher spiritual states. But at the same time, you have to understand that we're all individuals. Our minds are not stacked in the same order of issues by any sense of the imagination, nor do we all necessarily have the same issues. And for you Scientologists, let's take the words of your founder, L. Ron Hubbard. He stressed the idea, and I'm quoting the phrase, paralleling the mind. Auditing, which is Scientology's term for processing techniques, is based in the idea, supposedly, of paralleling the mind. So when a person comes to you in session and tells you what's on their mind, and you as a Scientologist say, okay, thank you for telling me that, but what we're going to do is what you need next, the next step of the gradation chart. We're going to continue with that. Okay? That's not paralleling the mind. That's imposing a given generic path on a specific individual, which violates another firm rule even from L. Ron Hubbard, supposedly. And as what I'm pointing out is the contradictions of Scientology. But if you look at the things that Hubbard claimed were most basic, and I agree with those, paralleling the mind and audit the person in front of you. In Scientology terms, audit the PC in front of you. What that means is give that person, that individual, what directly addresses what they need at this time. Okay? Now that doesn't mean to ignore what they're complaining about, what they'd like to do, so that you will follow the generic instructions of the gradation chart. And so when Scientologists say, apparently some are saying this according to one of my participants who couldn't understand why. Well, this is why, okay? Because Scientologists have imposed and indoctrinated into them a continuity, this generic gradation chart, this sequence of techniques that address certain things that are to be done exactly in the same sequence and all the same techniques on each individual. Okay? That is the continuity that Scientologists come to accept. Okay? Now, it is a continuity. It's a continuity to a chart on a wall. It's a continuity to a principle that is held in Scientology, but it is not, very much not, a continuity in terms of the concerns of the person receiving the sessions. For the person receiving the sessions, the continuity would be following where their mind takes them, in L. Ron Hubbard's term, paralleling the mind. And that's exactly what we do with therapeutic spiritual counseling. That is the whole point. And that's why this participant was so amazed to hear that, because as he could experience for himself, it's always been a perfect continuity. We're always addressing exactly what we need to, exactly what your spiritual compass, your basic spiritual instinct, your mind is presenting and saying, this is what we need to address. This is what's getting in the way of me right now. That's what I do. And that is the perfect continuity, the perfect paralleling of the mind. So I hope that having explained this, those of you who are Scientologists and followers of my videos will come to understand the difference between a continuity based on a theory that's generically supposed to apply to everybody, and a continuity that's actually based on you, the individual, receiving the session at this moment. Thanks for listening, and I can always be reached. I welcome anybody who'd like to experience a free introductory session, or to continue with more, or to be one of the many people who's been mentored or trained by me in therapeutic spiritual counseling, or just have questions. Get in touch. You can find me through my website, and that is dexsessions, plural.com, dexsessions.com, dexsessions.com. Thanks for watching and listening. I look forward to hearing from you.